Hello everyone, welcome to our first episode of Pitchside Soccer. This is where we talk about everything from the pitch to the front office. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a, what I would say, transfer special, talking about most of the big signings that have been happening in the summer transfer window. I'm Justin.
I'm Ricardo.
And let's get straight into it.
We'll start off with talking about big transfers or big names that were moved to Saudi Arabia. Opened their wallet, and a lot of their big clubs wanted to bring some quality footballers. So we're gonna kind of move on to that. Benzema was the big one. I mean, I know it happened a while back, but I think it's worth kind of look at it. I mean, big names like Benzema for $200 million a year.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. I mean, I think at this point, with the way soccer's moving, I think anybody getting that offer would move, unless you're Cristiano or Messi. I mean, we saw Cristiano take that route, and then we'll talk about Messi, what he did. So we have Conte, who from Chelsea again, he moved for $100 million a year, which again, I would want to see these teams like compete at. Like, think about it, a team that big, it would be nice to kind of see it playing against like I don't know, even if it's like a friendly, just against a quality Real Madrid team, you know? Like
top, seeing what these teams can kind of build a super team and then go against the biggest teams in Europe.
Yeah, that'd be
definitely cool. I don't know how realistic that would be in terms of having in-season tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, because we saw it with PSG.
Yeah.
And I'm blanking out on the name. Cristiano Ronaldo's team.
Al Hilal?
When they played the friendly in Saudi Arabia. And it was a good game, I think. I thought it was like decently good for what I was expecting.
Yeah.
We have other names like Firmino, who recently just made the move. Yeah. Neves, who hurts you a lot.
Yeah. One of my favorite players of all time as a Wolves fan. Definitely sad to see as a Wolves fan, but it's a very good move for him. Secures, I mean, all of these moves are very good for the players. A lot of money, like, especially if they're coming from backgrounds where, you know, they don't have really that wealth, and they're able to take that home and being able to really bring up their family and help their communities a lot.
And that's the thing though, like, we typically tend to think about soccer as in, why did he not, I assume he had better offers from, I mean, maybe not better offers, but he had soccer-wise better offers from European teams and so on. And we always think about, like, why didn't he take that route? But at the end of the day, it's a job.
Yeah.
And obviously when you work somewhere, you want to get paid. And I think financially, it's a great move. Soccer-wise, I guess we'll have to wait and see, because that league's definitely growing.
Yeah. And the thing is about now is, you know, a few of these players they're still like younger players. They can go there 2-3 years. The time that their contracts are up, they're still going to be not even in their 30s yet. Like Neves, Milinkovic-Savic, which we were talking about, and Jota from Celtic, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all they were
like Jota's pretty young too.
Yeah, they're pretty young players. They still have probably a good 10 years.
Yeah, because big names that recently moved. You have also Theo, who recently moved. You have just all these big names that are making the big transfer, and it's going to be. I wonder if that league is going to come out, and we're going to see a little bit more of it. I mean, Cristiano made the move, and we're definitely seeing it. So
yeah. One thing I have been seeing is some people saying that they think that these moves are ruining soccer. Do you think this is kind of ruining the soccer, or kind of what Europe has built over the years?
Well, if I'm in Saudi Arabia, I definitely don't think that. I don't want to say it's ruining soccer as a whole. I think it's sucks for me because I could never watch the league in Saudi Arabia, just our time difference here and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of just make it to watching European soccer. Like there's some early games in the morning for us that we don't get. So Saudi Arabian soccer, or their time difference is a little different. So definitely sucks for me because I want to see Firmino. I want to see Benzema every weekend. I'm not going to see that. But as a whole, I think I'd rather have more competitive soccer elsewhere, because we all know the big Europe, UEFA is the big thing, you know. I like to see African teams come up, MLS grow, Saudi Arabia grow. That way there's competition everywhere, and I think it could just help soccer in general.
I agree. I think most people are just upset because they feel like the players aren't going because like they really want to. They're going out of more greed.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, I think, but I agree. I think it's good because, you know, people are seeing these like big moves for a lot of money, and there's maybe people who weren't even interested in the sport before are saying, oh, there's like a lot of money, maybe I'll check in and see what this is all about.
Yeah.
That's how the sport grows.
Yeah. The only thing where I could see it hurting some people, I mean, and it's just kind of always been the issue, is you're for sure not only gonna have the top 3-4 teams in each league, because if you're competing against 200 million a year in Europe, there's only a handful of teams that could actually pay that.
Yeah.
To where your Wolves is like, well, I can't compete with that, and it's gonna back up.
Yeah.
You know, or if they can, it's like they could probably get 2 decently good players where cover more ground. But as far as soccer wise, I think it's good. You're taking the competition elsewhere. Hopefully that competition there grows, and we might be seeing a lot of players coming up from Saudi Arabia that are going to end up in Europe.
Yeah.
Who knows? I think that would be kind of cool to see, and I think that's my take. No,
I agree.
I really want to see those teams play though, because there's a couple strong teams out there for sure. So that'll be good.
Yeah, and I think it's like if they do start playing, you'll see more players that were originally in that league kind of shine alongside these other big star players.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the younger players who will make the opposite way and then be able to get moves to European teams. I know that happened with the striker who used to be on Ronaldo's team. When Ronaldo came, he was able to make a move to Galatasaray.
Yeah.
So that's also something that we could look out for.
And then honestly, like Saudi Arabia, talking about this past World Cup, they weren't damn, I want to see that team play, but they had some good soccer. Like they would move the ball. They had an idea, and it's not like I mean, we've seen some teams, and even in Europe, that just the smaller countries, and I mean, no offense or none, but it's just weaker soccer when you play against the Italy. In Saudi Arabia, at least from this side of the world, when you look at Saudi Arabia and you think soccer, you don't have that much knowledge, just because one, we don't see it, and two, they don't have big names. But when I saw that World Cup, it's like these guys at least know what they're doing. They have some type of idea of soccer. They play for something.
Yeah.
And now with these big moves, each one of those players is going to contribute to somebody in U18 something, and they're gonna. I hope it sparks them and makes them grow. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I agree. I think definitely a lot of money going into people who are going to be here for 3-4 years. So I don't know how sustainable this sort of practice of bringing in big name players for this amounts of money. I don't know how deep their wallets are, if there's certain financial fair play regulations that are going to come in place by FIFA.
For FIFA, yeah.
Any sort of possible investigations they'll have into the league.
I mean, and they'll more likely happen, for sure. But I mean, I think as it's happening now, I think we should just kind of
observe.
Yeah, and see what happens. I was gonna say enjoy it, but like I said, I'm not gonna enjoy it because I'm not gonna be able to see these players play unless we bust all-nighters. But
yeah, I don't know every weekend about that. But
yeah.
maybe if like Ronaldo's team is playing Benzema's team or something of that.
Yeah, I think there'll be those big games, but I think it'll still be cool. Like I want to see how Benzema's gonna do. because again, when we think about these players, it's like I expect Benzema to be scoring 2 goals a game,
Yeah.
a goal a game at least, you know.
I mean, he won the Ballon d'Or 2 years ago.
So that's what I'm saying. Like we have high expectations from this players. One, because they're world class. Two, they're going into what a lot of people think is a weaker league or just lower standards for soccer that they have out there. But I mean, we saw Ronaldo struggle a couple times when he was out there, so we see that the league is somewhat competitive.
Yeah.
There's some competitive to that league. So
Obviously, still very far away from
yeah,
the top leagues of
Yeah,
Europe are,
yeah.
but it's not complete trash like some people want to make it out to be.
I agree. Do you mind if we move to now? We talked about somebody who's opening their wallet. So there's a big, one of the bigger teams, just because it's in a bigger city, it's in a better state here in the United States, but Inter Miami.
Yeah.
They've definitely opened their wallets and they want to build this superstar team, and they're doing it, man. Like they signed Messi. I mean, we all heard about that, and I think that's good for us because we're gonna be able to see Messi every weekend here.
Yeah.
But now, if we want to go to the stadium and
see him in real life,
it's just gonna be tough.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get that piggy bank.
Those ticket prices went as soon as he signed.
No, yeah, for sure. So at least from here, if you went from, I don't know, I think tickets to LAFC range anywhere from $50 to $150. Now, if you did now after the transfer, you were talking about like $500 cheapest ticket.
Yeah.
So and you're talking about like MLS final cheapest ticket was $400 bucks.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
That is wild. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some things where like season ticket holders, their season ticket before he signed was like worth $90 like to see it. Now they're looking it's like $1,200.
Yeah, that was for sure. Like
crazy amounts of money.
Yeah, they hit the jackpot for sure. So that's that. They also just signed Busquets.
Celebrity Busquets.
So they're kind of trying to bring, it looks like the whole Barca crew, because now they're trying to go. They're closing down on Jordi Alba.
Yeah.
Which, again, man, we haven't seen like a top defender in the league, at least that I could remember, where it's like, obviously, he's a winger. We saw a center back, Italian, play for LAFC.
Chiellini.
Yeah, who's, I mean, he's a lot older though. Like Jordi Alba, I think he could still play in a mid-table league in Spain for sure.
Yeah, I guess him making like a move to like a Sevilla or something of that sort.
Yeah,
I think he still has a lot of talent, and I think he still has a good 2 or 3 years left in him.
Yeah,
he's about 33, 34 now.
Yeah, so to see him here, I assume he's gonna retire here. But to see him here, I think it's going to be a good 2-3 years, whatever they sign him for. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be good. And I think it's good. They're trying to get, or it's good that the MLS, Inter Miami are making these moves, because now eyes are on the US. We got the World Cup coming up.
Yeah.
It's going to be here. Club World Cup is going to be here. So there's all these things kind of leading up to here. So now the US, I mean, there were kind of big transfers, big names from MLS to Europe. So Europe knew about US, but now it's like Messi's in the MLS. So now for sure the whole world knows MLS. So I think it's good for the league. Good for the league in terms of people watching, and then obviously the Messi, Busquets, their soccer, it's world class. It's top notch, you know?
Yeah.
But I just think that MLS is not ready for it.
Yeah.
It's just not ready for it. You go to a LAFC game, and I mean, you have great players. You have Carlos Vela, who is I mean, once he was up there with Messi in the La Liga, but you see people go crazy now. I want to see how many people are going to be just after Messi.
Yeah.
Which one? I think security needs. It's. I assume it's going to improve, but it's just crazy. You see some of.
Yeah, it just has to. There's no.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if you've seen Inter Miami Stadium. It's not. I don't think it's going to be able to hold it, but.
I don't think so either.
That's just my take. And then to top it off, they have Tata Martino as their coach. So.
Yeah. One thing I also want to talk about is that I think these moves are very interesting because over the years, past kind of 5-10 years, MLS as like a whole has kind of shifted away from being kind of a retirement league where you would see a lot of these old players like the Beckhams, Gerrards, Henrys coming to finish out their careers, kind of shifted to more focusing on the development of their players and building up players to kind of go and then send over to Europe to continue the development. And while Inter Miami's focus kind of shifted back now to getting these older players, I think this is better for the league because all these other teams are still going to have the focus of Messi on their team, so they're going to still have the growth, but they're still going to be focused on their development, which means they're going to have more money for their development.
And then another thing, I mean, Busquets, it was the one that was getting up there in age, which I would say he's probably the one that was looking for a team to retire with, but Messi could still play. We talked about Jordi Alba, he could still play. So like these players, they might be thinking about retirement, but I don't think this step was like, I'm gonna retire there, which could potentially turn into that. But what I'm saying is, there was the talks with Messi about going to Barca. So that tells you that it's like if he could play at Barca, PSG kind of wanted to keep him. There's all these things. So it's not like the Beckham where Beckham was kind of like, I'm out. You know, like I'm just gonna go retire type of thing. So I think MLS they kind of did shift to a thing where it's like, let's bring back old players, and I'm gonna grow. But I think also they have soccer for a couple of years from these guys. So
finish up. You already said that, but Tata Martino is going to be their coach.
Their coach. So I think they're gonna definitely. I like his game style, even though he gets a lot of hate just because of the past. His past. I guess I don't want to say he
shortcomings with the Mexican national team.
But with Atlanta United, he did well. Like they played nice soccer. They won the MLS Cup. So I think this project for Inter Miami is a good one.
I agree. At the very least, it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then kind of moving back over to the European side of the world, the bigger name teams there. You have PSG making a lot of big money moves. Not only moves that make sense for what they need in the team, but quality signings for the future.
And what I like this time is that they didn't kind of just go and like they've done in the past, like with Neymar. I want Neymar. It's gonna take me 222 million to get him. I don't care. I'm gonna get him. Messi. I'm gonna do everything to get him. This time it's like they got a couple free agents. They kind of actually look at places where they kind of needed some help. And I mean, at least from the signings, I mean, we see Icardi to Galatasaray, which I think it's good. I mean, how many times did Icardi play last season or this past season?
Even the year before.
Yeah, it's like he's not getting a lot of playing time, so I think it's good. They're Asensio, a free agent. I don't know if I already mentioned it. There's Kangin Lee from Mallorca.
Yeah, young players. They're signing not only players for the future, but a lot of times it feels like this team, the players don't really have that like fire in them to want to play for the team.
Yeah. So obviously, like Ugarte, Manuel Ugarte from Sporting, that's a big jump for him for sure. I mean, Sporting is a top team, Portugal,
Yeah.
but PSG, I think. I mean, last couple of years, definitely Sporting has been up there and they've been playing some good soccer.
Yeah.
But just PSG, you have the name.
Yeah.
You're in France. It's just a different atmosphere and a different drive for the player.
Yeah. I think also it's like it's a move they needed. Their last year their defense was almost a little soulless, I would say.
Yeah.
They didn't really feel like complete. It felt like they weren't really quite sure what they wanted to do. They had a lot of good big name kind of center backs. They have Kimpembe, Marquinhos, Saudiarabia, a few other guys who are like quality center backs, but they just couldn't really find that rotation, I would say, that had that chemistry between the players.
Yeah.
And I think as they're kind of offloading I wouldn't say dead weight, but weight and the wage budget that kind of isn't needed anymore, and they're bringing in players who are young, who are going to want to fight for the team.
Players that, like you said, they're getting that, they want to be there, so they're obviously going to show it.
Yeah.
And obviously now you have Messi out, you have
Mbappe possibly leaving, which is a whole.
That's a lot of drama. And again, even though I personally don't see at least from like Neymar, he doesn't look like he could be a leader. Mbappe, with what's going on, it looks like he's definitely not a leader because he doesn't know what he wants to do. There's a lot of drama going in PSG right now with that. But Marquinhos, man, Marquinhos is the player that I think PSG needs to kind of hold on. And again, I'm always kind of against building a team based on a player.
Yeah.
But I think with Marquinhos is not the player that wants to outshine everybody.
Yeah.
You know, he works hard. He's also young. He's not young, but he's...
Yes, it's a good 8 years before he's...
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you build something to help, and not for him, but help Marquinhos kind of develop himself a little more, I think this PSG team could potentially do... I mean, I don't know if we're talking about next year or in 2 years win a Champions League. But I think in 3 or 4 years, if they kind of, just based from what we're seeing this transfer window, I think it could potentially lead to something bigger.
Yeah. I mean, the signing of, 2 big name free agents in Asensio and Spinner, good center backs.
Yeah.
I think they do need. Lucas Hernandez from Bayern, another good defender. He can play on the wide, he can play in the middle. Another thing that they do need, only thing I think they kind of need to focus on now is their midfield, kind of the same thing with their defense had last year. It didn't really have more soul to it. It looked like a lot of good players who didn't really know what they were supposed to be doing to kind of help each other out.
Well, yeah, and then it's also the ego work,
Yeah.
which I think Luis Enrique is definitely gonna help this out.
Yeah.
He's dealt with Neymar before, but I think it's just gonna come down to Neymar wants to stay here or not.
Yeah.
Mbappe is I think when they offered him that contract before where he had a lot of power, I think that was the mistake PSG made.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing that could happen to PSG is if someone buys him. Obviously,
Yeah.
if they don't, then they're not gonna make any money out of him. But
Yeah, I think PSG cannot let him leave on him free.
Free,
They
yeah.
spent like
this, it's
they basically ruined the last 2 years of their 3 years if he stays one more. If he stays and just leaves on a free, spend so much time, so much money into building up a player that, to be honest, didn't bring what they wanted. They wanted the Champions League, and they were already winning the league. They were already winning the national cups.
Yeah, and then also I think you saw this with Neymar. Like you saw with Neymar that it's big egos, like you learned from it and you thought you would learn from it, but they didn't. So I hope that this is kind of like the last and final slap in their
In their face, kind of.
and they could just say, hey, you know what, Because honestly, like we complain about the whole Zlatan era with Edson Cavani, and like that team could have gave more. But if you really now look back, they had no big issues. Yeah, they were probably they could have done a little more than they did, but I think they were going towards a really good path.
Yeah.
And then obviously Zlatan left. They had a bunch of moves and they wanted a big name, obviously. And I think once they signed Neymar, their kind of idea of their transfer window kind of just went out the door.
They kind of went to more like buying players instead of like looking to try to build a team.
Yeah.
And this transfer, it looks like they're finally building a team. They have a good coach who can control those egos. He does know the style of play that he wants to play. He can implement it, even pushing these players who wouldn't want to play in certain areas to do it for the sake of the team.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at their young players, and it's like, who are their young players? You have Xavi Simons with.
Yeah, I mean he's at PSV right now, but he has a like very cheap buyback clause. Hakimi's still young. Manch is still young.
And I think they do have the young players, but I think they just need to be pushed.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're buying the big names, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. I think I just need the board to have faith in Enrique, and if we see him leaving before this, I think within the next 2 years, I think they're going to have another couple years ahead of them where there's going to be more and more failure.
Yeah.
I think one of their biggest faults is constantly switching out their coaches and not having faith in them, because it leads to these players who are now with the egos finally trying to settle into the style of play that's not really what they want. Then it's constantly getting switched to something different because the board just seems to be impatient.
Yeah.
And not wanting like a quick fix to these issues.
And that's the thing, though. It's like we see that all over the world, where I think recently in the Premier League, the teams that regulated, I think they all switch coach, manager like a couple times throughout the season.
Yeah.
And it's like we see it all the time. Obviously, there's sometimes that nobody's gonna fix it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But with a team that has potential like that, it just doesn't make sense to mess with the idea or the project that they have going on.
Yeah. I agree. And
since we talked about Mbappe and the drama,
kind of moving into Real Madrid, and they've made some
they've definitely have, and it looks like there might be another one coming.
Yeah, but
for sure.
I mean, they've already spent 133 million euros on Bellingham. Like, do they have the money to be able to sign an Mbappe this summer, or will they even have the money to do so in the winter? Or,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think they even need to sign him this year. They can wait to get him on free next year.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that'd be the smartest thing for Real Madrid to do.
Would be.
Obviously, if they wanted to, they definitely can. They have a lot of players that are your older players that if you're a Real Madrid fan, you don't want to see them leave, but that still hold a lot of value.
Yeah.
And they could, I would say, could be sold. Obviously, you have Toni Kroos, who this year, and I think he's always said it, I think he said this with Germany when he's like, why am I going to be there when if I'm giving my 100% is a young kid's 80%?
Yeah.
So that's what he said with Germany. And I think he has the same idea with, you have some solid midfielders in Real Madrid. You had Luka Modric, who is old, but he's still playing like he's 25.
They have
he's
up
awesome.
to 6 world-class
Yeah.
midfielders.
So they could definitely sell some, make some room and get some money to get Mbappe. But I think the smart thing is, if Mbappe wants, he could just stick to his thing and not want to sign and wait to be free, and Real Madrid could get him. Obviously, PSG doesn't want that, but I think that'd be the best thing that could happen around Madrid, for
I
sure.
think that's the best thing for Madrid, the best thing for Mbappe. Obviously, the worst thing for PSG, but that's part of the business. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Also, Mbappe. I wonder if they will make him sit out, which I think it would happen. So, a top player like that, world class, shouldn't hurt much, but it's definitely going to be tough for him kind of getting back to where he's at.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, in my perspective, I think La Liga is a lot just more physical games than Ligue 1 in France, but I don't think it's that far off.
I don't think so either. I think it's just kind of different because in League One you'll see a lot more. They're both kind of more dirty leagues.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red cards that you'll see in both leagues, which I think are similar. But I think the type of fouls in League One more come from inexperience in the players.
Yeah.
Compared to La Liga, where it's more intentional.
Yeah. You could definitely see the soccer wise. I think they're pretty similar. Just talking about soccer, but you might have for Real Madrid tough games during the season. You might have 5 tough games during the season, 6 tough games during the season, where PSG would probably have 3 tough opponents based on paper. Obviously, once you're in there, it's a little different, but it's also that mentality, man. When you're in Real Madrid, I think the Real Madrid fan expects something a lot more than PSG. Obviously, PSG, we saw them get crazy when they made the Champions League final, but it's just not what Real Madrid fan expects. Real Madrid always pushes you. You have a lot more pressure. So
I mean, yeah.
I think Mbappe could definitely handle it, but it's just a different motive, a different drive that the player will be feeling.
It's a different gear he's gonna have to kick into to make sure he keeps those fans happy that they feel like they've already been disrespected by him once.
Yeah.
You have to remember, because in that last sort of transfer saga, you're saying, yeah, I'm coming, and he didn't. And a lot of those hardcore fans really felt disrespected by him.
Yeah.
If he does come, I think they will be happy for his signing, because obviously him and Holland are the number 1, number 2 players. No matter which way you put it, they're 1 and 2.
They're going to be the next players to look for.
Yeah.
They're it's tough to say, but they're going to be the next generation's Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah. Whether they'll reach the same heights.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they will.
Different soccer, different type of different structures now.
Yeah.
Definitely, but I think the players to look for, and I mean, even when I watch them play, it's like you want to see them score, you want to see them play, you want to see them take shots and stuff like that.
I mean, they're generational talents for sure.
Yeah. They have a couple more signings.
Yeah, they re-signing, or bringing back a lot of, continuing to develop their youth, something Real Madrid is definitely known to do. Bring back Brahim Diaz, Fran Garcia, 2 young, talented players. Signing Arda Güler from Fenerbahce, I think it was.
Yes, which they had that drama. Well, I guess not drama for Real Madrid, but for Barcelona.
Yeah.
There was definitely some
which upset fans.
They should definitely be used to that, because it's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Where a player says, I already had something with Barcelona or Real Madrid, and end up going to the opposing team.
Yeah, and then also signing Vinicius Tobias,
younger
from Shakhtar.
Younger players. I think that when Real Madrid, at least when I think about La Liga, I think about that Barca team with Guardiola and Xavi and all that, of young kids, what it was once young kids, just kind of, they grew up to be this crazy team.
Mm-hmm.
When Real Madrid started bringing out their players, I think that's what we saw, because they for a point they had Lucas Vazquez, they had Asensio, they had all these young players. They had all these young players, and to see him kind of continue that, and if a player needs to be developed, they just kind of send them on a loan or something, and then kind of build them up.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, for these players, they don't need to build these players into world beaters. They already have those players. These players are things that they could come in, and if they can get like 10 games a year just to fill in those gaps, they have the quality to do so, and they don't need to be stepping in those big games. Real Madrid has the quality to not even really need to use them, but these players have the quality that they can be used.
Yeah.
Which obviously Real Madrid's been doing this, and they know what they're doing. You don't get as many UCLs if you don't. But big moves for them, especially with Bellingham. Very excited to see how he's going to turn out. I think he'll do well.
Yeah, and then moving on to the rivals for sure. Their transfer agenda players coming in is definitely not that big, their list. But I mean, especially because they're dealing with a bunch of issues with financial issues and but they did sound Victor Roque, who I think would be great in this team. I know we were talking about the other day off camera, which Barcelona has a lot good talent, really good players. It just doesn't fit the game style that we've seen Xavi play.
Yeah.
And also, to be honest, I don't even know if these players are actually gonna be able to play.
Yeah. I mean, Barca's kind of a thing where we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see kind of what happens once the season starts, whether these players are gonna get the game time they need, kind of how Xavi is gonna fit all these talented players into a team and kind of make it work. I believe he can. And
then how the front office is gonna make him fit too, because that's a big issue. You could bring a top quality player, but if you can't sign him, you can't register him, then there's no point.
Yeah.
And I honestly think this is what we're gonna see with these players for sure.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that in the kind of coming years is looking good is a lot of these players that they did have on bigger contracts coming for more money, they are starting to leave. You see Coutinho leave, you see Griezmann leave. Other sorts of dead weight in terms of players who are on bigger contracts like Umtiti, who are not getting any playing time. These players are finally starting to leave. You see other big contract players like Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba's leaving. Big name players, large contracts, freeing up that space to kind of build these teams the way they want is kind of just what can Xavi do with what he has. It's limited. We're gonna have to see, what can he do? What can the front office get done?
I mean, I hope he could definitely do something good. I mean, I think Barca in the league, a good Barca helps out the league. Especially in Champions League, you always want to see again, like I'm sure if you're from Spain, you kind of want to see a team from Spain kind of win or make it through. Obviously, if you're Real Madrid, you don't want to see that. But everyone else kind of pushes forward for that. In the last couple of years, it's honestly only been Real Madrid.
It's been, Atletico did win the league 1 year. Barca kind of seeing their comeback, winning the league last year. But
at the top
level, you're seeing them
that's where it's tough.
To the Europa League 2 years in a row.
And they don't do anything there either.
Yeah. So
that's tough.
Trying to build it back up, though. It's good to see.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to Germany. In Germany, I mean, there's not a lot of movement. The big German teams have been somewhat quiet. There's a lot of rumors going on. Nothing kind of actually happened.
Not a lot of done deals yet. So we're kind of gonna stay away from things until more official news. Don't want to just be spewing out things that aren't true yet.
Yeah.
Biggest one so far is gonna be Guerrero from Dortmund. Very talented left back, I believe.
Yeah, and we've been seeing that even though they're big rivals, we see that often with Dortmund and Bayern, where they kind of trade off players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of different, and you only really see it in Germany.
Yeah.
Kim Min-jae too, another addition to the team.
Yeah, another solid center back after seeing Upamecano's kind of shortcomings last year.
And that's where they struggle.
Yeah.
Their back line has not been on it.
Yeah, I mean, you see Guerrero coming in to replace Lucas Hernandez, Kim Min-jae coming in to further strengthen that back line, and kind of have to see, Tuchel is now the coach, seeing, what kind of style of play does he want to bring to this Bayern team, who he's more of a defensive focused manager, I would say, and a team that's very offensive focused in the past in terms of high pace wingers, a lot of forward pressing, a lot of attack minded play.
Yeah. And this is a weird, not era, but just different era for Bayern, because they're coming back from kind of firing all the front office, like all the top guys. Like this past year was not good for the whole institution, the whole Bayern, anybody who wears the badge, the Bayern badge. But I think Bayern's always been that club that kind of, they don't mess around, they do things weird. We did kind of see something that we never seen them do, which was they let a bunch of their staff go. But I think this new kind of path that they're taking, I'm kind of excited to see.
Yeah, and just have to see like another team where we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, or they're gonna keep doing the same thing, and Dortmund's gonna feed off that, and they're gonna take that big step.
I mean, we saw last year they came down to
they
the last.
They were going back and forth. That was and it's weird because everyone kind of says it's like, I hate leagues that only have those two teams, But this time that went down to the wire, it was like, damn, like this is exciting. Like I want to keep, and it came down to the last game. But
heartbreaking for Dortmund, but
they were going back and forth. That was and it's weird because everyone kind of says it's like, I hate leagues that only have those two teams, But this time that went down to the wire, it was like, damn, like this is exciting. Like I want to keep, And it came down to the last game.
Heartbreaking for Dortmund, but if you're a Bayern fan, which happy to win that 11th league title in a row.
Yeah.
So obviously they're still in a pretty good spot, but not where they want to be, being the complete dominant team in the Bundesliga.
Yeah. I mean, in the years back, they've had. It didn't on paper didn't seem like a big gap of them being on top, but in the field they showed it.
Yeah.
And I think this past year, that big gap was, they went to the last game. So I think it's going to be kind of nice to see, especially because we haven't seen anything from Dortmund. So I'm kind of hoping they make some big moves, and then see what comes. And then Dortmund's always bringing young talent, so they don't have to sign everybody. They could just bring somebody from their youth squad and
yeah, you see a lot of that, and they make very smart decisions in terms of bringing in players who not only fit the team, but are on good wages, and they know their place in the team. They know even if they're not going to be starting every game, they have the talent to come in and
make something happen. Yeah, for sure. That's one of the reasons why I like Dortmund so much. It's just you never know who's going to come in the pitch, but when they do, they have something special.
Yeah.
So that's it for Germany.